County EC now. He's the former chair. We've also got Yvonne here tonight to speak. I think Jeff's going to speak first. But anyway, if you'll just give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. I love that. Wow. You want me to talk with this or just speak? Which one's better?
Yeah, they're both about the same.
This?
Whatever
Okay.
you-
That's always better.
You can move these better.
Okay. I'll do either one. My name's Jeff Davis. I am running for the SCGOP chairman slot. I am the former chairman. We don't really know whether we're former or current because they changed the rules on us. Greenville County Republican Party. I'm the state EC. Why? Not that we do teach people the first thing you're supposed to do is find your replacement. So I found Yvonne Julian, let her be the whipping boy, whipping person up in Greenville for the next 2 years. But what we do teach people, obviously, find your replacement is kind of the first thing. These are not jobs or positions that you should be holding for a long time. We were down in Lexington last night, and one of our friends, Billy Brandt, she is the new chairwoman for Barnwell County. She replaced somebody who had been there since 2009. Our state national committee woman for the state of South Carolina has been there since 1996. The national committeeman's been there since 2008. Drew McKissick's been there for 6 years, and he wants another term. And as you all know, because you probably heard us say it about 1,000 times, South Carolina is rated the most liberal red state in the nation, for the past 3 years. That's by CPAC. That's not what Jeff Davis is saying. And I'm like, you get confused about when are they going to figure this out? It's not that complicated. There's problems. We're an abortion destination state. We have the nation's worst rated school choice program. And it's a kid night. I think there's 8 of those guys. And I was at the state executive committee meeting where we had his hearing on his election up here, and he got shafted by the party. You don't shut down precinct voting areas right around where the candidate lives. And I'll tell you, I was sitting in the executive, they presented the evidence in his case, and then you go into executive session, kind of like the jury. As soon as we went into executive session, your former state EC stands up and starts presenting evidence. And I'm like, I went to law school, but I don't think you're supposed to do that. But she was presenting evidence. It was incredible to me what she was doing. And it was like I remember there was a chairman from, I think, McCormick County spoke up and said, shouldn't you have presented this during the hearing so they can at least respond to it? And, but I mean, it was a done deal just because Drew McKissick didn't want to change anything. And that's the problem that we're seeing with a lot of things. A lot of people just follow along, and I know we tease, if Larry says something, we follow Larry, and but we do teach people. One of the things we teach people is don't trust anyone, because what is hard for good Christian Americans, really anybody, is to think somebody would look you in the eye and lie to you. Politicians do it, and we've got to figure that out. And my joke with the legislators that we have now is I don't like 95% of the politicians, and I can't tell you the 5% I like. So we did this at a forum for the Greenville County Republican Party a couple weeks ago, and I said that, and we had a guy named Bill Frady who does the radio from 10 to noon. And he said, well, I don't like 100% of them. So I mean, he actually won up to me. So, but he's been doing this stuff for a long time as well. But I got involved in this because of school choice. I mean, I was a college Republican. I went to the Citadel for undergrad. I got my law degree in MBA from the University of South Carolina. The Citadel was all girls, or I'm sorry, all male at the time. So me going to grad school was like going to college. You had actually females in the classroom, so it was fun. But after I got out of there, I went to move to Atlanta, practice law. I was in the family office business, CPA, tax attorney guy. But I was just just the normal conservative out there. I just voted R. I didn't pay attention to this stuff. Yes, I watched the national news and all that kind of jazz. But when we moved back to South Carolina, we got involved in school choice. K through 12 children with special needs. It's a tax credit scholarship program. I'm a tax attorney. I knew we had set up one of these down in Georgia under their program, now $120 million program. And I didn't advocate for it. Somebody came to me and said, hey, would you like to sponsor one of these organizations? I didn't lobby for it here in the state of South Carolina. But when they passed the same legislation here, when I was here, I was like, this would be something fun to do and get involved, and you raise money. I know where to go get the money, and then give kids perhaps scholarships, especially these kids. It should be a good thing. And we all hear the problem with school choice, and this is my example, but the example is the same with all of the other issues that are out there. But I mean, we got involved in it, and obviously, we've all been told that the problem is, the Democrats and the teachers unions. That's not the problem. State of South Carolina, it was the Republicans. And it was people that wanted to attach on that money. What I'm upset about is I actually voted for Larry Grooms when he ran for Congress to replace Mark, I guess it was Mark Sanford. No, it was when Mark Sanford got in, but I guess it was to replace Tim Scott when he got moved up to the Senate position. I voted for him because I thought he was a school choice guy. Voted for him in the primary. Lo and behold, Larry Grooms is our biggest opponent of school choice. And people need to learn that. What a lot of us, especially a lot of us that work in any kind of advocacy, no matter what it is, you're confused about what's really going on. So to us, it's about educating people. 2 years ago, with the last reorg, we kind of came together in a small, a coalition of conservative groups that wanted to teach people about reorg. So we've got a bunch of conservative groups. I don't think we're going to get anywhere until we take back the Republican Party. The Republican Party provides cover for politicians. Because most of us are like I used to be, a drive-by voter. If the party said something, that's just what I did. Because I don't know any better. I can't tell. I could not tell in the old days who was really the good guy or the bad guy. Now we have an even more serious problem with telling who's the good guy and the bad guy out there. And there's a lot of people that will tell you one thing and they go do just another one. I was saying, watch what they do, not watch what they do, not what they say. And it's when I had a legislator repeat that back to me or text that back to me the other day, I'm like, that message is getting out there. We started doing the same thing with the CPAC ratings. When I'd go and talk to some random person and they start telling me, oh, you're blah. Do you know South Carolina's ranked number 33? I'm like, this is fantastic. But it has to be, we've got to educate more people about the process. And what we've done is educate people about precinct reorg. So my personal belief is, the citizens of the state of South Carolina are good, Christian, God-fearing, hard-working people, but our legislators are not. I will take a random sampling of 124 people and put them in the House, and I'll take a random sample of 46 South Carolinians and stick them in the Senate, and I think we'll get a much better outcome than the legislators we have elected down there. Because a lot of them are doing things that would shock you and disgust you if you actually kind of understood it. And I'm not, I don't want you to follow just what I say. I want you to get out there and get involved. They have taken civic engagement out of the schools, and most of us are just watching TV and we're lost. We don't know any better. I mean, my joke is I went to law school. I didn't go to do all that kind of fun law. I like the business side of it. But when I went to law school, your first year you have to take 3 hours in the first semester and 3 hours in the second semester of constitutional law. I took it. I learned how to read cases and do all that kind of stuff. I did not understand what the Constitution was until I got involved in some of this stuff. What it is really about and what it's there to protect you about. And what I love about it is, and I ran into one guy last night down in Lexington, homeschool kids. Homeschool kids, parents, mothers and dads will save this country. Because I am overly impressed. They know what the Constitution is because they got parents that teach them about it. My parents didn't teach me about it. They had me when they were probably too young and, going through life and, buying houses and cars and doing all that fun stuff. But I'm like, we have lost civic engagement in this country, and we've got to get that back. So we kind of have a two-step process of how to fix this stuff. A lot of people, and it's funny, we talked about it earlier today, because I find it interesting when somebody calls you up and asks, well, and somebody did it today, they said, what's your position on the Second Amendment? I'm like, really? What do you think my position is? But I understand most people campaign or talk about what they feel on these positions. I'm like, I support this, whatever the stuff on the Republican platform is, period. And I'm pretty hard on all of these issues. And that's one of the things they hit me with. They were uncompromising on things. But I'm like, he asked me that question. I said, so I answered him or whatnot, and he was all fine with that stuff. But it was kind of like, I'm not here to campaign on an issue. I'm here to campaign on a process. We're campaigning on a process of, if you want to solve your issue, whatever your issue is, whether it be life, judicial reform, which is one of my big ones, school choice, I mean, pick it, roads and bridges, whatever, gas, whatever it is, I mean, how are you gonna get it accomplished? Legislators will lie to you, they will tell you stuff, and then they will go, hope you go away, hope you get frustrated with it and go away. We've used this past 6 months or past, this legislative session, I know school choice really, really well in this state. We have the nation's worst rated school choice program. They have been pushing these education savings accounts, which sound great, backpack the money, blah, 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 blah. But you know what, that's another money grab. It just doesn't happen to be Democrats grabbing it, it's Republicans. And it's Jim DeMint, and it's Ellen Weaver, and these are powerful people. And I got no problem calling them out and telling people. And if I'm wrong, let's have a discussion about it. And you know what, everybody I've ever had a discussion about it, they end up coming our way. They're like, oh my goodness, you're right. That's nothing but, a money grab on the other side. It's all about the money. So I kind of go through some analysis of, what people are motivated by and why they do certain things. We kind of have a 4-part test. When people, are doing other things, it's either because of the money or, betraying us as citizens because of the money, because they're being blackmailed, because they're, quite frankly, the third one is there's some psychopaths out there. Literally, there are people like to pull the wings off of flies. You remember those kids from grade school. There was always that one weird kid. They're all gravitate to politics. It's easy to get in here. There's no requirement, there's no test, no certification to participate in politics. There's none. So they all come here. And we have literally, I promise you, over the 2 years ago, we started, we did movies about it, and we started teaching people to recognize this. That type of stuff. And then the 4th classification is people that are just trusting other people and fooled by it. And that's okay. Those people will wake up and either come to our side, or those people will, wake up and be so blinded by what, cognitive dissonance that they will end up being one of those top 3 classes, the psychopath out there too. But we have got to figure this out and engage in it. And there will be crazy things. And I actually find a lot of humor in in the creativity of what they throw out at us. I love the fact that y'all got mailers, apparently, about me. That's, why did you get a mailer about me? Because I'm really a bad person? Or because they're gonna put a little truth in there and a little lies in there and freak people out? If I was going into a voting booth and somebody said, and it's for these 2 candidates, and somebody says to me, hey, guess what, that guy's a pedophile. Are you gonna vote for that person? Are you gonna have time to go even check it? You're not going to. They did it to us in Greenville. They accused Yvonne Julian of being a Democrat and donating to Democrats in 14, 16, and 18. Guess what? Yvonne used to be a Democrat. Show me a black American that probably wasn't a Democrat. That's kind of our joke, that's what we want. Oh, don't we want to bring these people over? Well, she got sick of it in 2008, had not donated to a Democrat since 2008. But we had reputable people taking screenshots that left off the dates, left off the amounts, and shared it around. Reputable people. My predecessor as chairman of the Republican Party was sharing it around too. Because they're saying, oh, we're good, we're taking over. I got the list, and some of the, we've actually published it out on our mySCGOP.news page. Do you trust anonymous, information? The number one thing I think is out there that I'm funded by George Soros. I literally had somebody tell me the other day, they thought there was a $25 million trust out there funding what we were doing. Dennis, he's a numbers guy, he's asking me, he's like, can I get your tax return? I'm like, I get it, but it's just a postcard, because we're less than $50,000 a year. We're actually less than 10. I'd like to be at 50. I'd like to be at 49 and do a postcard return. We are doing this from a grassroots perspective. Nobody's getting paid. I'm about as cheap a guy as you can find. That frustrates our people a whole bunch, because I am pretty cheap about a lot of things. I've always been that way. But what we are doing, what we do have, is we have people. We have right on our side, we have God on our side, we have the Constitution on our side, and there's a platform on our side. So it's easy to do what we do, and it's easy to win when you have right on your side. And I'm telling you, they're not that smart on the other side. The things they do are nuts. It was funny, the email, one of the emails I got from up here, you just go to the properties and you right click it, and you can kind of see who wrote it. Jeffrey Chambers. He's the lawyer for the SCGOP. I'm like, he's the lawyer that's working with those guys. You know, there was a videotape by Chrissy somebody, who's the chair or the president of the Kershaw County Republican Women's Club. She's actually sitting there reading out this stuff, this, you know, multiple ages. You know, she's sitting there saying, I was convicted of a charter school crime in Atlanta, and that's why I moved to South Carolina, to take my scheme up here to South Carolina. I'm like, well, can you find that conviction anywhere? You know, I mean, a lot of this is projection of these people. And that's actually a study of the psychology of it. If you actually look into the background of a lot of these folks, you know, they do have criminal backgrounds, certainly from a childhood perspective and stuff like that. You know, but she sat there and she was saying these things. And then the camera pans over to Penry Gustafson. You know her. You all know Penry? I'm on a hunt for Penry. So scans over to Penry, and she tells on tape, we got the tape, the fact that she and this lady, Chrissy, had met with the SCGOP and their lawyers, and all this stuff was true. I can't wait to go to sue them. I mean, what do you do? But it's just like almost nonstop. This is the types of things they say and do. Why do they want to do it? They want to do it because they want to stop what we're going to do. Because we can't be bought. We don't really care. Jay, we spoke in Lexington last night. Jay Kilmartin is a friend of ours. There was a melting pot, and he's really, Jay doesn't care. He's like, you know, go ahead, don't, unelect me, you know, to those people. But you got to stick with our people that get us here. And, you know, Jay doesn't care, I don't care. We need a lot of people that don't care. It is scary to think about getting up here or getting that, getting your name out there, and you're going to get trashed. Yvonne Julian, everybody loves her, and as soon as we put her up as the chair candidate, they started attacking her. And I'm like, you see what I'm talking about? Everybody loves Yvonne. Everybody wanted to get rid of me. And guess what? Now they want me back. She's actually talking about it. She can't be bought. She can't be persuaded. You know, she's not buying this BS that some of them throw out there. You know, I let people go on. We would have meetings, late into the night. They get upset with me. I'm like, let them talk. Let them keep talking. They're digging a hole. When somebody wants to destroy themselves, get out of the way. Let them keep destroying this. They would literally have shut our meeting down because, we misspelled somebody's name in the minutes. Is that what they're worried about? Or are they worried about the 12 babies getting murdered in Greenville County at the abortion clinic? They're not worried about that. But they say they are. What are they really about? So that's what we're really trying to push out there, is really teach, and we're about education, teaching people, about how this process works. And we're about turning out large numbers. My theory, or our theory, with the establishment, what they want to do is keep it small to control it all, right? Small group, we can, confuse everybody, and you can't control a group or confuse a group of 10,000 people. Guess what? We need a large party so nobody can control it. If you get a bunch of people, you're not going to be able to tell lies to everybody. We got an investigative reporter that moved. I think she's from California. She's a new delegate, new precinct person in Greenville. She's an investigative reporter and a banker. It's a great combination. She sees some of the stuff that's going out there. She said she went to the docket and read all the stuff. I'm like, great, what'd you come up with? This is a bunch of baloney. I'm like, I know. I mean, that's okay, I understand it. I was involved in a business transaction in 2008 during the financial crisis that, we put $5 million into something, it would have been 15 had Obama not have got elected. Well, really hating that election. But they picked winners and losers in which banks they shut down. Well, the bank we invested in, the CEO was a client of mine. Guess what? Pretty much conservative. They shut that one down. That's okay. I mean, it's, money comes and goes. But, they have tagged me with that particular thing, like I'm Bernie Madoff, which is kind of funny, while at the same time, some of these people are committing crimes today. And it's like, which one's better? I mean, at least I had something that had to do with 3 people, nothing to do with politics, while Chad Conley, who's the former chairman of the SCGOP, Chad Conley, I see some head shaking there, you know who he is. Chad Conley is Drew McKissick's mentor. Chad Conley is the gentleman that is the reason why we have open primaries in the state of South Carolina. There was a lawsuit in Greenville County several years ago. I guess it's been a while now, but there was Greenville County and the state party were the plaintiffs. Guess what? Chad was the chairman of the SCGOP, so he could make whatever decisions he wanted to make there. He pulled the party. He had gotten reelected. He then pulled the party out of that lawsuit. They were about to win that lawsuit. It was a federal lawsuit, which would have given us closed primaries based on some constitutional issues, because they had mapped it after a lawsuit that had been successful up in Virginia. And they were right there to get it. Chad pulled the party, the state party, out of the federal lawsuit. Guess what? Chad ended up resigning about a couple days later, very shortly after, got a job with the RNC. I wonder who got him that job. You know, who wants open primaries in this state? Lindsey Graham? Yep. Probably Lindsey Graham. So, I mean, that's it. Who has the power to have gotten him a job at the RNC? Well, guess who he took with him? I mean, he ran faith-based operations. And I don't know if I'm going on a tangent on some stuff. I just enjoy this stuff. But he's running faith-based operations for the RNC, which I think is a good thing. We need people doing that. Probably just not him. But guess who he took with him to run? He ran it for the nation. Guess who ran one of his regions? Drew McKissick. And it's like, you start, connect the dots. I'm a guy that likes connecting the dots. I like looking at the money, I like to figure it out. I notice unusual behavior, and then I'm like, if it's weird, keep digging and figuring it out. So there's a lot of weird things going on. There's a lot of weird activity that happens, but I mean, the end result is, we're number 33 in the nation. It's the most liberal red state in the nation, 3 years running. I'm like, if we were top 5, I don't think anybody would be here. I don't think we'd have to be here, would we? It wouldn't be, Mark wouldn't have to do the things he's having to do to advocate for life. If we were a top 5 state, I don't know what top 5 states, have, but I mean, when you're an abortion destination state, somebody's got to stand up and do something. And we've gotten sucked into this fight because of school choice. We were part of that program. We started getting attacked immediately. We actually, in 2014, the first year of the program, I'm a tax attorney. I've been waiting my entire life for this, to get audited. I keep track of all my stuff, and it's like, I want to get audited. One of my clients, who was a CPA partner at a big firm in Atlanta, he got audited one time, and he's like, I said, do you want me to go take care of it for you? He's like, no, I want to go myself. He's like, give me the box of the stuff. I'm gonna go talk to these IRS agents. He was gonna have a good time. But I went to my mailbox in 2014, and there was 3 audit notices. One for me personally, one for Olga personally. We were married, but we filed our taxes separately. One for the nonprofit, How Many Kids First. And I'm like, this is targeting, just like they targeted with the IRS and the Tea Party groups, except it was in reverse against conservatives. And it was from the South Carolina Department of Revenue, who at that point in time was, the director, it's a cabinet position by the governor. Guess who that was? Nikki Haley. I'm not real happy with Nikki Haley. So she's not real happy with the press release we did out of the Graham County Republican Party when she announced that she was running for office. Because Donald Trump took it and posted it on their website, and then he shared it on True Social. So, I mean, we just, speak truth. Trey Gowdy taught us to speak truth to power. So that's what I always say to the establishment folks when they get mad about what I say. I'm like, hey, I'm just doing what Trey told us to do, right? So, that's I can tell you, answer any kind of questions you want about what we're doing, but what I think is going on, I didn't seek this position. I don't really want to do this stuff. I do want to fix it. I want to fix it fast, so we can all go back to our lives. I used to have a good life, so I get sucked into this quagmire. But I think we can fix it, and we can fix it fast. Flip the tables. My friend, a good friend of ours up in North Carolina, they flipped their entire legislature in about 2 terms. We are back to what happened with the Tea Party groups years ago, but they played some tricks on them. We're now Tea Party 2.0, and we're not going to fall for those tricks. We're going to sit there and run candidates. We're going to, our goal is, in a sense, twofold. Number one, we got to take back the party, all 46 counties in the state party. That's eventually where we got to get. So we have the bully pulpit, right? So we can sit there when, I've had, on the way over here, I got a call, for an interview, by the reporter for the Greenville News. She's a little slow to the game, because I've already interviewed with a couple, national folks and the Post and Courier in the state. She's just slow to it. But I mean, the things that I could tell her, they're going to put in the paper. Especially when I tell them controversial things like, we're going after Bruce Bannister, chairman of House Ways and Means. I want to take on all these people. Bruce Bannister did not move the school choice bill from committee to get passed. We passed it. We pushed it through the Senate. It was $55 million for K through 12 children, special needs and low income. At homeschool, $10 million for homeschool kids, pay for curriculum. Bruce let it sit there. It's been sitting there since March 28th when it moved over, to the House after we passed it through the Senate. Why? Because they wanted to move the ESA. They want to kill this later. But guess what? What did they tell us? And this is things I want folks to learn. What they told us was, guess what? It's going to be first up in January. Anybody believe that? I'm like, okay. Most people 10 years ago, I would have said, great, we are right there on the cusp. We're going to make it. I know exactly what Bruce is doing. And I've known Bruce for years. His one of our biggest schools, a school named Camperdown Academy, is in Bruce's district. His mother is on the board of it. It's for children with dyslexia. His child, and Bruce said this out publicly, so I'm not disclosing it. We gave him a scholarship to go to that school. He's participated in the school choice program. He knows we were not participating in a quid pro quo, which the South Carolina Department of Revenue tried to accuse us of with their fake audit. And he knows that we were targeted. Bruce told me personally, yes, you guys were targeted because we're upsetting somebody with a lot of money. There's a lot of money in education. And they're trying to stop this. This bill would change education in the state for the better. This would give kids opportunities, low-income children and special needs and homeschoolers. Well, who wants to stop that? Who would want to stop that? Public school people, sure. But the people, Department of Ed, yes, Ellen Weaver, Jim DeMint, we've tracked it all the way back. We've tracked it back to the financial services firms that will implement the program. We actually did a financial analysis based on the bill, the ESA bill. It's net present value, and none of them have debated me about this, is $180-some million. If you passed a bill or had a bill that was going to net you $180-some million net present value, today's dollars, it's a stream of income, but decrease back. What would you pay to advocate for that? $1 billion, $2 billion, spread around several years. There's money behind this, and they use children for it. I love it when they accuse me, oh, you're just doing this to control the school choice program. Are you kidding me? We preach a free market school choice program that if any of you wanted to get involved in it, you could. Start your own nonprofit, go raise tax credits, and get donors and parents and schools, and you can do it. Do you think Jeff Davis has any opportunity of winning the contract for the Education Savings Account program? That's zero, because there's a company in South Florida that's going to get that contract. It's called Class Wallet, and they're doing this all across the country. And guess who's doing it? Conservatives. Jim DeMint. Bush people, yes. Bush was up here pushing the ESA. Wow, it's fantastic. They're
doing that in Arizona too.
They're doing it in Arizona. It sounds great. Universal school choice, education savings account. I'm like, who runs the program? The government. Somebody's got to run the program. It's sophistry. They say one thing and they're really doing something else. So that's what we're trying to, I want to find a way to fix my problem with school choice. And guess what? It fixes your problem with life, and your problem with judicial reform, and your problem with the gas tax. We have to put pressure on these guys. And that's why we're going to put some pressure on Bruce Bannister. And I told that to the news person. It's probably going to be in the article. Great. I want Bruce to know. When Bruce called and said, hey, it's going to be first up next year, or his staff person, one of his people called and told me about it, I said, tell the chairman, thank you for letting us know. I appreciate it. But tell him I'm going down to Conway Belange's office, which is our election director, and I'm going to buy the biggest map of his district that they will sell me. It's 44 inches by 33, and it's $25. Best $25 ever spent. And I did. We got in the car, we drove right down there. I filled out the form, I put $25 cash, I took a picture of it, and I texted it to them. And we sent it out in the email we sent out later that week. They have to know it's coming, because they have to adjust what they're going to do. They're not going to adjust it because they're not afraid of us. They're not afraid of you because they know they can fool you. They know that what they can do is get a bunch of money from somebody and send out 6 mailers, right, or 12 mailers right before the election. All that stuff, that influences people. It shocked me the first time I started hearing people say, well, I just voted for him because I got, and recognize his name. I got a letter in the mail. Like, really? That's how you made your decision? Guess what? That's probably exactly how I made my decision in the old days too. So that's what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do, because we had this discussion last night in Lexington, because they're kind of advanced in that process. I said, what we're going to do is, we don't have, and people ask all the time, how are you gonna get rid of Lindsey Graham? My first answer, said, well, do you got $200 million? Maybe. Nobody's volunteered $200 million to get rid of Lindsey Graham. That's probably what it would take. I mean, what he raised last time, 120 million? It would take a whole bunch of money. Or the alternative, we have in this state 2,261 precincts. 2,261 precincts. 10 people a precinct. That's 22,610 people, right? If those people you got 10 activists in each precinct. Sounds like a lot, but we're a state of 5 million, it's not that bad. But if you get activists in each of the precincts, I'm doing a lot of work to win school choice. It's really a pain. But I mean, it fixes everything. And you explain. So if we had, there's no amount of money that is gonna beat 10 activists in a precinct out there informing their neighbors and their friends about what's actually going on. So in Greenville, we're designing it out right now. We're gonna do door hangers. They're 4.5 cents. So I can order 10,000 door hangers for $450, right? And it'll be from the Greenville County Republican Party. It'll be printed, front and back. It's about 11.5 inches. If my chairman agrees, so it'll be okay.
I'm listening.
11.5, about 7.5. It'll have a here. Join the Greenville County Republican Party. That'll convince her to let us do it. But you put that on there, and then we're going to add some information. We'll do a flyer. And literally, we'll target it by your precinct. My precinct, I got a school board member, I got a county council member, I got a state house member, and I got a state senator. You kind of concentrate on those 4, the most local. And we'll write up a little flyer about it, and we'll attach it to it, and just go put them on people's doors.
Jason Elliott's gone.
Jason Elliott is our House rep, and Jason Elliott needs to be gone. He voted to keep boys and girls sports. How many of my neighbors that live in our House District 22 know that about Jason? Jason's a nice guy. Everybody thought, no, Jason, he's nice, he's fantastic. Constituent service, he'll get you, whatever. He's doing things. No, he's bad. He's bad policy. He's been bad. He's been fighting us on school choice. But guess who he used to work for? Jim DeMint. Everything goes, all roads lead back to Jim DeMint. Jim DeMint is somebody that we're going after. And guess what? Jim DeMint's trying to do a lot of things in South Carolina, and he needs to be exposed. I didn't even realize that. We got a lot of people in Greenville, from the textile industry, and I'm sitting down with some of them one time. They're telling me about all the bad things Jim DeMint did in textiles. I'm like, great, I got something else I can tell people about. But he was part of the people that helped destroy the textile industry in upstate South Carolina. I hope other people know about it. But that's, we need to get that out there. As opposed to, wow, he's a former senator, he's a good person, whatever he tells me I'm gonna do. Oh, he ran the Heritage Foundation, oh, this sounds great. Oh, he's trying to run the Freedom Caucus, I got no problem with the concept of the Freedom Caucus, and all that kind of stuff, but I got a problem with some of the leadership in it. I tell them that. They're not happy that I tell you that. Guess what? Who voted to table Rob Harris's bill today? Most of everybody, but leadership of some, But this is some of the Freedom Caucus. I'm like, why did they not do it? Rob Harris is part of the Freedom Caucus. From the rumors I heard, they begged him not to put that amendment up there to get the Equal Protection Bill. They did. Why? Why are we capitulating already? Why was the Freedom Caucus okay with supporting the ESA, but they did nothing? Because I was dealing with leadership on one side on the school choice thing, and I was dealing with the Freedom Caucus. Both sides, they hate each other, all arguing all over the place. It's fun. I'm like, I don't really care. We're like the third, people out there. Like, you're going to help the kids, or you're going to help the kids. Who's going to be the winner? Who's going to be the zero? Guess what? They're both the zeros. They're both, I think a big part of why they didn't fix it is because they were both probably protecting Drew McKissick. They did not want us to have a victory walking into the convention on Saturday, saying, "Oh, Jeff Davis and those Raleigh people, those lepers and rogue groups, they got $55 million for school choice kids." They didn't want that. I'm like, oh my God, you sold out kids to prevent us from having a victory. They do that. They do that stuff all the time. It is like it's like high school down there in Columbia. It's disgusting. Guess what? Drew McKissick doesn't call any of them out. I purposely sent the information about our school choice bill to Drew McKissick and those guys. Say, hey, this is gonna help a lot of kids. Will you put out something out? No, he didn't. They didn't put out anything, did they? And I'm like, you box these people in a corner and you expose who they really are. If they put it out, maybe we get a win. If they don't put it out, we get a win because we just exposed who they are. So we're about exposing people, doing all that kind of stuff. It is a lot of work, it's a lot of teaching, but there are people that are energized and want to get involved. We were down in Dorchester last week, and Drew McKissick was saying the problem with the Republican Party, or here in South Carolina, is voter apathy. And I'm like, I mean, come to Greenville, come over our coffee and politics. There is no apathy. We have a whole committee that just takes the volunteers to plug them in. Because you got to get them and got to sign them off on stuff. That's what we built in Greenville. That's what we committed to building 2 years ago. We were successful in fighting back the SCGOP. We know if we take over the state party, who we're going to have to deal with, probably the RNC. Instead of the B leagues, we may be dealing with the A league. But I'm telling you, we can beat them too. So I think what our people, what the folks around the state want us to do is take what we've been doing in Greenville, transplant it down to Columbia, and expand it, exponentially with volunteers and committees and all that kind of stuff around the state. I know people all over the state that want to get involved and do stuff. And I know a lot of activists that have been doing stuff for 20 some years. And I'm like, do you really want to keep doing this for 20 more years, or you want to, hammer these people? Guess what? We'll probably hammer them. We'll probably lose the first in the South, because they can manipulate things here, because it is a banana republic. The biggest problem here in our state is the political consulting class. It's a lot of money that's going to come into the state for the presidential preference primaries. Those people live for that every 4 years, and they're all salivating. Move it. I don't really care. Maybe it isn't good to have, and we got influence. We can discuss it, but we somehow got to get these political consultants out of the business. So I've been taking on everybody. So it kind of sucks. Looks like there's a lot of friends that want to take on everybody too, because I think that's going to be the only way to do it. But sometimes it gets rough and tumble. I get accused of all kinds of things. I got interviewed by the Post, I guess he was the Post and Courier guy, and he's like, well, let me get into the things that they say bad about you. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. He said, well, you're too much of a, you won't compromise. I'm like, well, compromise, come to the table, talk to us. Drew McKissick has never taken my phone call, responded to a text, responded to an email. He's never shaken my hand. I'm like, really? I went to him at a Christmas party 2 years ago, before they voted me out, reached out to shake his hand. He won't shake my hand. I mean, you've seen the video. He's got a temper, and he's an angry guy. And he's not that bright either. But, they're talking about division. I'm like, we'll work with you. I'm not a big guy on incrementalism, especially when you got a super majority. But, we can get out there and push the envelope. But, sometimes, we can work together. We can find unity on some issues. A lot of the issues, a lot of the Rhino establishments that get mad at us, they sit there and say they're pro-life people. Why did Citizens for Life endorse Drew McKissick? You got to be kidding me. I mean, Mark knows. But they don't want anything different. They don't want to solve the life issue, because guess what? Both sides make money off of it. They don't want to solve the gun issue, because both sides make money off of it. They don't want to solve the school choice issue, because both sides make money off of it. It's crazy, and we got to stop it. We got to stop the insanity. They're driving this country into the ground, and it's not just here; it's everywhere. Yvonne and I were on a conference call with the chairman today, just 3 of us, for the chairwoman for El Paso County, Colorado. I was getting confused with Texas. There are 725,000 people. Maybe you read what they did. They did the same, the RNC, or they did the same thing to her in her county out there. Took over her reorg, had a shadow group, called her all kinds of things in the news. She's just, pounded all the time. Take their finances away, make it, they have their big fundraisers, their Lincoln Day dinner. The establishment people were gonna, boycott it. that actually upset more people, so there's a bigger Lincoln Day dinner for them to make money off of. But that's what's going on with us. The more they attack us, the more we take it, we boomerang it back at them, and then we just, grow out there. So that's what we're doing. If you got any questions, concerns, oh, but the two things, I guess I would not compromise on things, and they didn't like my tactics. I have sharp elbows or something. I got bad tactics. I love that word. I'm like, what tactic is it? What is my tactic? Truth? Being willing to speak. Is that a bad tactic? I'm like, they never say anything specific. I can't get specifics. Drew McKissick, they took over our reorg and county convention because we were breaking rules. I'm like, what rule did we break? They won't tell us because there is no rule. There's nothing we did. They make stuff up, but they banned me. They voted me out of the state executive committee meeting in December of 2021, I guess. Yes, after the night after that Christmas party where he wouldn't shake my hand. It wasn't that they voted me out and told me to go. They could only vote me out because I was a guest as a chairman. They could not vote me out as a member of the executive committee. But what they voted me out for was telling the truth that Chad Conley was under SLED investigation, had been for about a year and a half. He denied it, and SLED confirmed it, a couple days later. Olga was outside because they now don't let guests in the state executive committee meetings anymore because they don't want any transparency into what they're doing. So I'm sitting inside. There's always the same security guy that's there, nice guy. And Olga texts me, something must be up, 2 more police just showed up. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. So, and guess what? They came into the room, they gave their presentation, the same people that made the vote, actually the lady from Lancaster, I think, is it McCravey or whatever her name is? Carrie? Yeah. I mean,
Gary, that's it.
she was an elected official. She was staging this whole thing.
Why?
In regard, and it had to do with a SLED investigation. That's actually interference with a criminal investigation. Now, you're never going to get Alan Wilson to do anything about it. He won't. The SLED, all the people we talked to at SLED said, yeah, this is crime, blah 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 blah. Alan Wilson wouldn't prosecute it, or his office wouldn't prosecute it. And you know what the reason was? They didn't think that Chad had the criminal intent necessary. Didn't have the criminal intent. He took the money, $275,406 from the trust for special needs children nonprofit. He tried to cover it up. I mean, he filed false affidavits about it because the only way it got uncovered is I filed a declaratory lawsuit in Newberry about it, and that ended up leading to Chad getting fired and the chairman of the board, a guy named Tom Persons, resigning in disgrace, because money was missing. They were violating the law. We did that. We have to fight him in the courts. We got to fight him at the voting booth. We got to fight him in the GOP. We got to get him out, but we got to expose him. But the ultimate result is we got to get people to run for office. Unless you're sitting in that seat, somebody else is sitting in it. Sometimes you think they're good. The only way you're going to know if they're good if it's you or your friend or somebody you've been in the trenches with. So we've got to get people elected to office. How are we going to do that? We're going to educate people. We're going to get 2,261 precincts activated, and we're going to speak truth to power. And we are not going to be a cover for legislators. We're certainly not in Greenville, and we're certainly not with the SCGOP. Now, we are on the line. I think we have 50% plus. I think there's a lot of establishment people that realize Drew McKissick needs to go. They don't want to say it out loud. There's a hidden vote always, for Donald Trump. There was a hidden vote there. They didn't, people get a survey, or do you like Donald Trump, that they might not want to say it out loud, but they go in that voting booth and they vote for him. I think we've got a lot of that. So that will help push us further, deeper in there. But the most exciting piece that I like, 2025, it is going to be a bloodbath for them. Y'all are gonna do Lancaster, we're gonna do Spartanburg, Lexington is gonna do Richland, our friends in Charleston and Dorchester will do Berkeley and Georgetown, and then we'll go into these hinterlands counties, the smaller counties, and we're gonna take them all over. If we don't have 80%, in 2025, I'll be shocked. We're just gonna walk in there and say, rubber stamp it, and you're all gone. And I think they might be all gone on Saturday, and I think they're freaking out about it. Because if you've seen some of the things they've been doing,
I got the phone calls.
you've been getting the phone calls. I never noticed Drew McKissick making phone calls like that before.
We got Peggy Upchurch sending out a little
Yeah.
misleading information about you too,
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah. Yeah, she's an establishment up to her
Yes,
eyeballs.
she is,
The other
absolutely.
thing is the phone calls from McKissick, some of them are coming from, North Carolina area code,
Right.
so
Yeah, Peggy
he's
Upchurch
enlisting
is
his
number
friends
North
from
Carolina.
wherever.
Well, it's people, they use their cell phones.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what
Would you
it is.
use your cell phone?
Yeah,
See, I wouldn't
they're
want my
doing
phone
that.
number identified.
Yes, sir.
It's somebody using secrecy and deception, right out of the art of the word is what he's doing.
Yes, yeah. You know, but I mean, you know,
And then the other thing, are you laser focused on one particular area in which you're really trying to focus energy so you can like split this juggernaut apart or anything like that?
you mean after we take over? What,
Right now, what's some
well,
of the tactics we're using right now?
obviously, it's a decentralized organization, what we do. I mean, I know they like to think that we're all like micromanaging everything, but we're relying on a decentralized organization of patriots all across the state that are getting involved and working really hard. And they see a hope. They finally see a hope. Not, they've seen a hope when we've taught them about reorg. They say, this is how you get rid of them. I mean, Lexington was so proud when we were down there yesterday. They're like, guess what? Joe Wilson wasn't even a delegate or an alternate. Guess what? In Greenville, South Carolina, Pamela Vet, our lieutenant governor, she's not a delegate or an alternate. She wasn't 2 years ago either. We don't need those politicians in there. We're about mission, we're about unity of mission, and we're pushing back against what the establishment is doing. And when you see them react, the way they react, Peggy Upchurch does things. That's what they accused us of 2 years ago. I mean, this whole rhino thing, calling people rhinos, Presley Stutz went to a Republican Women's Club meeting in Greenville, and, he was just trying to get from our prior third vice chair who runs reorg, for her name's Diane Mitchell, he was just trying to get the list of the unorganized precincts or the number of delegates in a precinct. We didn't know how to calculate the delegates of a precinct. Now we figured it out and we mathematically put it out there, and you divide 6,000, and all that kind of stuff. So we figured out how that all, well, that's 25 for the delegates, 6,000 for the state. So, but I mean, we figured out how to do that, and we've taught people, and we mapped it out there. So, but she wouldn't give it to him. She wouldn't give him the list. And guess what? So Presley, he got frustrated at some point in time when we had a meeting that was on film, and Presley called somebody a rhino. All of a sudden, guess what? There's a letter that came out from the Republican women, signed by several people, all saying that, that we had offended them by calling all Republican Women's Club members rhinos. They got every female Republican Women's Club member mad at us because allegedly we had called them all rhinos. I had people that were friends of mine that I'm dumbfounded that they were mad. They probably still think to this day I've called them a rhino. They have a bad incident with somebody over here that gets frustrated with them or something like that, and they blame it on me. I get a lot of blame for things I don't deserve. I get a lot of credit for things I don't deserve. So I mean, it goes both ways. But I'm like, that's part of their game. They know what's going on. They are wanting to keep their little social clubs small so they can control it all, and they don't want new people involved. Yes, ma'am.
What I wanted to say is that we're 4 days away from the convention.
Right.
I get an email from Drew McKissick every day, talking
Sometimes
about
two.
his accomplishments, and including one I got of a message from somebody called Paul Harvey. I don't know who he is, but I have not received anything from you.
Probably don't have your email. Drew won't give it to us.
Yeah, Drew won't give the delegate emails to the other candidates.
Yeah.
They have no way to communicate around the state.
Same thing happened in.
And yet campaigning is very important.
It is, and guess what? We have people around the state trying to find your email, trying to find all that information, but Drew doesn't, he's not gonna give it to us. Drew knows exactly who all the delegates are, because he's emailing all of you. He knows exactly who has signed up on the Eventbrite. They know exactly how to thread that needle. We know nothing. they did not, in Greenville, they didn't give us, they didn't give us any information. Obviously, they only gave us the first name, last name, and the precinct of the people that were delegates to our county convention. After we beat them again and got reelected, we got a copy of our P1 list, which is, the list of everybody that participated. We uploaded that into our email system. There were 525 new emails. There were a lot. We won, and there was a lot of people we never even talked to. There was a gentleman, I spoke at Rhino Hunt, I guess it was Tuesday last week. We have a group called Rhino Hunt in Green.
Is that Harry?
That's Harry
He's
Killer.
still doing that?
He's not doing it anymore. He's kind of wanting to get out of it again. He's giving it to another guy to do it. And they wanted me to come and speak. So I came and spoke at Rhino Hunt. There was a gentleman that stood up. It was classic. It was fantastic. He got up and thanked us for what we were doing. And then he said the name of his precinct. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a Rhino precinct. So it was kind of one of those wishy-washy ones. And he said he was sitting there at the convention. And he's like, I'm sitting there in the convention, first time I ever been. He's like 80, it's the first time he ever been to a convention. And he's sitting there saying, I'm watching these, his people say stuff. And he's like, I'm watching you say stuff over there. And I'm like, it's like, oh my God, I'm on the wrong side. I was like, oh my, he didn't realize it. He was misinformed by his people. Guess what? We got more and more people that are learning this. So I could not be more excited about the fact that we've got more people that know the process. So how many people knew about, what an executive committeeman was? 6 years ago. I didn't know anything about this. First one I went to was in 2017, and I went, and there was 5 of us, and I don't remember how many, I think we got 33 delegates out of my precinct. And there was 5 of us. We voted for somebody to be our EC that wasn't even there because somebody told us to. The next time we ran, we had 47 people there. We took them all out. And all I did was take it, going around and knocking on some doors and talking to some people. So we all know. Yes, ma'am.
The first time I ever went to state convention was, face to face, okay, was the one in December, I think it was?
July 30th last summer? Yes, ma'am.
And I have never been so insulted in my entire life. I came away from that, just the United States of America is dead. If this is the way politics is, then we're dead, okay? And I want to know how we can, I want some instruction. I do not want to be sitting around looking at everybody's red or green cards, okay? I want to know when stuff comes up, how everybody is going to be doing it, because we were bamboozled. And I also don't want it left till the 11th hour, till it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they want to vote on eight amendments to the bylaws. And this one nice guy from Greenville comes up and says, let's vote on them individually. Tommy Pope goes, nah.
Tommy Pope was there and selected to be the temporary chair, because we were outnumbered. We were going to win.
We've got 2 resolutions from York County that's going to be at this convention, and we want them passed.
Do you know that they're going to be there,
No.
or they already hit the circular file? My guess is they've hit the circular file already.
They're going. They're supposed to be going, but we need to know how to make ourselves heard. That's what we need.
Well, this is how we're doing it. We're getting involved and showing up and bringing more and more people. Yes.
I think the Robert's Rule, the book, it's very helpful to learn. Because that gives you the order and the parliamentarian of it.
Right. Robert's Rules will help you. Robert's Rules can be a weapon, it can be a defense, but
Tommy Pope just did it whatever way he wanted, him and Brandon Newton, whatever
did.
way they wanted to do it.
And I remember Tommy Pope saying, oh, everybody's gonna get their time in, yada, yada. No, and Brandon Newton's as bad as the rest of them. He's groomed into being who he is. He's the one that put 4066.
Tells the general meeting for York County Jail, everything was voted on properly, and if the people have spoken, baloney.
Yeah. You're right, but what do they want to do? They want to frustrate you so you quit and go away. There are a ton of people that have been frustrated and quit and gone away. They blame us for being divisive and pushing people out of the party. Guess what? We're pushing people in the middle away, but guess what? We're giving hope to everybody on the right to come back in and get involved in the party. It's persistence, and you got to stick to it. We got to stay professional, and we got to be persistent, and we got to say we're not going away. And we have to overwhelm them with numbers. We got to get more and more people. We got to grow our precincts. We got to get people involved. I got a bunch of people in my precinct I don't expect them all to come to all the meetings, do all the things that we do, but they know what we're doing, and they'll show up when we need them to show up. You know, they got a life, but they will show up when I need them to come
We
up.
had one person from my precinct, this reorg, we had 5. So.
And how many you gonna have next time? 30?
We get 8 delegates, we got 5 of those 8, we're going to get 8 delegates next time.
Well, show up 30 people.
Absolutely.
Make it fun, enjoy it. You know, I mean, we are
We
conservatives.
don't want anybody from the state coming and running our meetings, because Tim still knew how to run our meetings,
They know, but listen, I mean, we gotta get more people involved. It's gotta be more than 8. It's gotta be a lot of people.
Well, you're preaching to the converted here because we overwhelmed them at the convention.
Yes.
You know, 80%. So we know the formula because we followed Greenville. We know the formula. Now we got to get the other counties educated, as you say, and we got to hope that we can pull it out this year down in.
Well, yes, we want to pull it out, but I'll tell you, Tim Bruce in Pickens County, he's the outgoing chairman there. We got Bob Federley coming in. Tim, you know, he did the same thing we all did. Get you know, find your replacement. Tim, in what they did in Pickens County, they won all their officer positions either at 81%, 82, or 83%. They crushed them. It's great. Tim's going to be doing a lot of stuff with us statewide. What Pamela Godwin has done down in Lexington, I mean, she was working in the precincts, kind of crushing that stuff out. I mean, they were doing good work. Greenville gets a lot of credit for stuff, but there's a lot of counties that are doing really good things. And you guys obviously did it up here.
We copied your film.
You did, and you owe me 10 cents. I think there was something. There was some sort of royalty I was waiting on. You know, and apparently I hear we were meeting in your basement all the time.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I don't know where he lives, but I've been meeting in his basement.
You can now be.
There's word if you've been there.
Yeah,
Been there.
you can be in sainthood now because you've been in 2 places at the same time.
Yes, ma'am.
As a newbie who has been encouraged to get involved, and we did the Lancaster debacle a while back, and I felt like I had been dropped into a foreign country speaking a foreign language. There is no guide. We keep hearing, get involved, but then you go there and it's a fast ping pong match. You don't know what the hell happened. You walk out of there. Has anybody from our group, the Patriots group, put together a training manual or something so that when we go, you say, yeah, you know, we overwhelmed them. We overwhelmed them, but I'm telling you, the people from my precinct, they're like a box of rutabagas. They don't know what they're going for. They've got what's his name, emailing and calling them, and they're like, yep, go to vote for McKissick. Yep, don't know that other guy. He can't be bothered. So, I mean, that's what you're up against, and we're all a bunch of newbies, all excited, but they're gonna go up there and vote for McKissick because we're stupid.
I got people that, you know, work their neighbors and work their other delegates, you know, all the time. I mean,
But we
it's,
don't know anything, and we need a book. Somebody needs to sit down and say, what was the plan that you used? I'm dropped into this, and it's like, I'm here in kindergarten, but y'all are in 8th grade, and I'm just learning to write my name. I need a guide of what am I supposed to be learning? How can I teach the people to participate successfully? Because getting a group of people to show up at Lancaster, they all went away and said, I'm disgusted, they're never gonna come back.
some of them won't, but some of them, you know, you gotta lead them to come back. You've gotta give them hope.
But we need to know, what did you do? How, you know.
Come on over to my basement. We'll,
Listen, we're producing trainings. A gentleman by the name of Joe Citino runs our civic engagement committee. Joe, I mean, just retired from General Electric. I mean, he's sitting there and we do this stuff online. We do it in-person trainings. We've been doing it in Greenville because what they do is they were building the models in Greenville. You know, kind of like, you can do it for our Greenville and our 151 precincts here, but you better, you know, think about how we do and spread this across the state. So we've got best practices and good things. Pickens does, Lexington does, Patriots down in Dorchester do, and Charles. I mean, we got them around the state. We need to pull them all together. It would be a whole lot easier if we take over the party to sit there and say, hey, these are party-sponsored things. I want to do Zoom trainings for the entire state. we will do them. Obviously, we're rolling them out from Greenville, and if that's where it ends up being, it'll be our 10, 15, 20 counties that will be our kind of Freedom Caucus GOP counties. And we're going to live up to the name Freedom Caucus, and we're going to actually push this stuff, because that's really where the freedom comes from. It comes from the people, the individuals. And that's, all we're going to be satisfied with is going to be the South Carolina Republic implementation of the South Carolina Republican platform. If they don't like it, change their platform. They wrote it, all the establishment people wrote it, and apparently the last time they edited it was they don't follow it. So they feel good about themselves writing it. Well, guess what? We're going to stick it to you, and you're going to have to follow it. You wrote it, we'll follow it. Larry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to speak to Linda's question. One of the critical things at the convention Saturday is going to be getting the temporary president. And do we have a signal yet on how we're going to make that happen? We've got a guy in mind, and we got a plan. We've got to have, we don't need Tommy Pope, we need the right person running that convention, and we've been talking about that. My question to the delegates here need to know, are we going to have a signal or something that tells us when to stand up and vote for that president?
Well, what we did last time is obviously, the first thing they do is they're going to ask, when it opens up, the first vote will be this temporary president thing. So somebody from the other side is going to be up there to, make a motion for that person. If you go look on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mySCGOP, we actually filmed. They probably screwed up, but we filmed and did, live streamed the video for our convention in Greenville. You can actually see how that process worked. Somebody on their side, I was sitting in the front row, so I just, it was like something about there. So I yelled out up there. I wasn't next to a microphone, and the other guy was next to a microphone. And so Mark Benoit took his first and said, hey, go to a microphone. They took their nomination of their person who was a political consultant, wasn't a legislator, but was a political consultant, the next worst thing, or maybe a worse thing than a legislator. And then I made a nomination for our person. Now, we had sent out an email and let everybody know who it was, but people knew if I was the person up there making the nomination of that's the person we wanted. So did we want a political consultant, or did we want the parliamentarian for the Greenville County Republican Party? Which everybody trusts. He's a great guy. I mean, there was just like no way our people. So the first thing they did is, let's do a voice vote for this guy and for our guy. It was really overwhelming. But Mark Benoit, the representative for the SCGOP, who was chairing it at the moment, getting the thing started, he wouldn't make a ruling. If it had been 50-50, he could have just ruled the other way, and probably would have created a riot. But it was so obvious to us. So but he wouldn't make a ruling. So then he had a standing vote. Everybody for the political consultant stand. All right, sit down. Everybody for our parliamentarian stand. Everybody starts laughing. It was obvious. He still wouldn't make the call. So I know, that's Mark, that's what they did. And they're sitting there trying to figure out things. He's walking off to the side of the stage talking to, Sarah Jane Walker, whatever her name is. And guess who else was there advising him that walked up? Dr. Orrin Smith. You know who he is? Works for Palmetto Promise Institute with Ellen Weaver. Used to work with Palmetto Family Council. He's real good friends with Dave Wilson. You know Dave Wilson? You need to start knowing these people. Dave Wilson is on Twitter, Dad of 10. Read Fist News. Dave Wilson was caught cheating on his wife with a pro-life. He's running Palmetto Family Council as their executive director, a Christian organization, and he's out there having an affair on his wife because, he had been with a pro-life advocate out of Atlanta. And guess what? He had been living in different bedrooms, apparently, because they interviewed two of his older daughters. He'd been living in a different bedroom because he had a porn addiction. And I'm like, yeah, it was going on for a year and a half. I'm sorry, these are distasteful things, but these are people that are sitting there trying to tell you how to be a better Christian. And you know what is worse about the whole thing? Apparently, the board of Palmetto Family Council had a fight amongst themselves about whether they should keep him or not. I'm like, are you kidding me? He needs to go. Well, Orrin was part of Palmetto Family Council. But I'm like, why is some guy who works for Jim DeMint advising Mark Benoit on what to do? So it ended up getting where they actually had a stand, and people that wanted this guy go to this side of the convention center. Everybody wants this guy go to this. It was 2/3 to 1/3. People were laughing their butts off. Finally, Mark had to call it in our direction. This is why you have to beat them substantially. So even if we're at 50 or 55 or 60%, they may cheat us. So, and that is what has happened.
That's what happened last night.
Yes. But they probably had more numbers there at that one. This one's really closer, but they did it in a lot of counties, and they did it in a whole bunch of small counties. They brought Chad Conley and different people like that in, and those counties are mad. They're not happy. Florence, they had, the first EC meeting they had in Florence, they had to call the sheriff. You know, because, I mean, we gotta stand up. You know, now I teach, we have to be professional, but persistent. Always be professional. You know, don't do the stuff that they want us to do. They want to drive you nuts.
So help us prepare a little more for Senate. Okay, so the next thing that I understand, and I've only been to one before, is that each candidate has to be nominated from the floor.
Yep.
So are we clear?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff, there's people that have been to these before, that have been working on it. Some things we're putting out so everybody knows about it. There's some things that people are gonna wait till the last month because we don't want the other side to know about it. You know, I'm a pretty open guy, you know, let everybody know, I don't really care. You know, we'll just barrel over them, which will be 2025. That'll be a lot of fun if we don't win this weekend. But I'm telling you, there's enough weird things going on. But that first vote on our temporary president will be the main thing. We win that vote, then this is how it happened in Greenville. We won that vote, then we can put up our temporary secretary. They didn't challenge us on the secretary, on the treasurer, you know, on the parliamentary. They didn't
Tell them
challenge
the
us.
name. Tell them the name of our.
Oh, the one that we're looking at right now is a gentleman by the name of Ken Moran. He's out of Georgetown. He does all this type of stuff. I had actually asked, and we'll publish it out, but you'll be able to tell what sides, you know, you should be able to.
We're gonna send all this out to you here, you know, Thursday and Friday.